Hello guys, welcome to another video from Becoming a Wild Man, Adventures and Teachings. Today we are going to talk about fatwoods and more specific about how to find fatwood. When a pine tree falls over, the resin that's in the branches and it will go back into the direction of the tree. So what that does is while the tree is dying out, all the resin will collect at the armpits of the branch, and therefore it will become hard, and all the rest of the wood will start to rot, but the parts of the wood that have fatwood or resin in it will stay. Now, in generally, the best places to look are pine trees, and how to see the difference between the pine tree that is fallen over and a spruce, for example, is actually very easy. Here we have an example of a fallen, hello, she's camera shy, of a fallen pine tree. Pine trees do is they rot from the inside, from the outside, and the inside will stay hard. While with spruce trees, the inside will start to rot and the outer layer will remain longer, and that means that on the outer layer for the spruce contains the most resin. Here it's the other way around, and if I poke with it in it, Lana, schijf. If I poke in it with my knife, you can see it really clear that there's even water coming out, yeah? So this is really rot, as you can see, while the inside is hard. Yeah, so that means the inside contains more resin than the outside. That's the easiest way to identify a fallen tree, to know if it's pine tree or if it's spruce. So spruce doesn't give that much of fatwood. It does give it, but not the amounts that we are looking for. Now the places you want to look at in general are the armpits. So this is a branch, and what it does when it falls down is, while the resin is still like liquid, it starts to go back and collect in here. And if you look for the trees that are really rotten, and you can see the skeleton of the tree, so this one isn't rotten far enough yet. I'm sure I will find one and show you later, but you will see that it goes way deep into the trunk. So that's what we're looking for. Now somebody else already collected some fatwood here. You can see they go for the armpits, and they cut it off quite high. The higher you go, the less resin you will have. The deeper you go, the more resin you will have. This is a very beautiful example, this one. The coloration is really darkish red, and the smell is turpentine-like, and this is the stuff you want. This smells really good. But in Belgium you don't always find this kind of quality. Sometimes you will find wood that smells like it but doesn't have this really darkish red color, just has the slight color of resin, but that will work as well. So don't throw that away, that will work just as fine. Not as fine, but it will work. It will help you to make fire and to light it, for example, with fire steel or something. So here's a good example of the skeleton coming out. You see this tree is well covered already by moss. It's show you this. This is what you normally see sticking out. This is where the branch starts, around here. So all the rest is rotten away. Yeah, that means all of this is saturated with fatwood or resin. And if you ever seen resin that became hard, it's really breakable, but it's actually really hard. And that's what happens with this wood. All this resin got mixed with the fibers of the wood, and then hardened out, So this is the good stuff, yeah. And this stuff, guys, this can be rock solid. Fatwood is really, if it's really good quality, if it's well saturated, then it is quite hard material. And what I in the past once tried, and I've seen this stuff break knives, really. So I've tried it myself, and I've seen others do it as well. To put the knife, wait, let me show you. Put the knife that way and start batoning on it. Put the knife that way, start batoning on it. If your knife isn't the best quality, or if your fatwood is the best quality, I've seen it chip out knives and roll over edges. So preferably you use a saw. A saw is a very good tool for this. And if not a saw, use the axe. But think twice before you start with your knife, because I tell you, it takes some time to put an edge back on it if you chip it out really well, or when it rolls over. Yeah, that's my tip for you. Make sure you have a saw with you. As you see, I cut it in a V-notch. Yeah, the advantage of that is you go deeper into the stem to get out the good wood. This is the result. It's not as saturated as the piece we saw earlier, but this is fine quality. Now if I would split it, then I would start by cutting this off as well, so I can put it a bit more stable. Take my knife and start in the center. So I start at the hardest part, not at the softest part. This way it will split nice, even, and once you break through the hard part, the rest will just follow and open up. So it takes a few good whacks with a decent stick to get this out. So this is nice. So you can use this for fire lighting, and this will be shown in another video. I love to use this as well for my hand drill, for the fire bow. So this is my piece of wood that I would use, because the resin, once it heats up from the spindle moving around, it will work as a lubricant, and it will not bite that hard as it would in just dead wood or something. So I like this for a hand block for the fire bow as well. For the rest, you can toss this on the fire. This will burn, even though the outside is wet and a bit rotten. This will burn, and what fatwood does is it will give a nice warm fire with a lot of light, big flames. The only downside to it is that it creates smoke as well, and you don't want to be cooking on an open fire made from fatwood or spruce or pine in that matter, because it will give a distinctive taste to your food. Unless you're into it, of course, who am I to tell you not to? But in general, we don't use this kind of stuff on our fire when we are cooking or grilling on an open fire. So roots often have a good source of fatwood as well. When you're in the more temperate Europe, not so much. I often find the roots to rot fast. But when you go to Sweden, let me tell you, you can find some nice stumps over there. I remember this one time, it was my first winter expedition with my best friend Ramon, and we went somewhere in the middle of Sweden, above Uppsala somewhere. And I remember the first night that we set camp, it was was called. I'm gonna check if I still got some pictures that I can edit into this video. But we arrived in our camp, and we went to this place that the locals called the cold pit. That was it. And the reason for that was it was a valley, and cold air would collide there. And we wanted to test our stamina and see how well we would do under cold circumstances. And it was around minus, well, during the day it was minus 16, minus 18, but when the sun went down, let me tell you, it was cold. It was, I think the coldest night that we had was around minus 30, maybe even minus 32 Celsius. For our first winter expedition, that was yeah, that was a lot. So I remember the first day that I was trying to make the fire there. I had smoke the whole time. The small twigs of the pine trees that I was using, they were actually frozen. The moist in it was frozen solid. So I really had a hard time lighting that fire. And that night we just had nothing but smoke. We had no heat whatsoever. We went to our sleeping bag quite fast. But the day after, we discovered that right next to our campsite, and there was this stump from a fallen pine tree that was blown over, and the stump was all that was left, and it was underneath all the snow. So we discovered it, and we took the axe and we chipped out a piece, and it was like, the smell, it immediately we were already smiling like, oh yeah, this is the good stuff, you know. It was nice golden color, dark red, and the smell itself was amazing. From that moment, fire was no longer an issue. We had a bonfire every evening. Line up, Nip, come. So that was a lifesaver actually. So oh, I took a wrong turn somewhere. But yeah, that was a lifesaver. So if you can find Fatwood, guys, if you're struggling with fire, it's rainy, it's cold, it's windy, whatever, Fatwood, definitely Fatwood. So that was a little story about it, and I'm gonna sign off now. Gonna walk back to the car and get something to eat because I'm hungry. So enjoy your day. Thanks for watching, and remember, hit the subscribe button. Cheers.